All right, we're live. We'll let it breathe for just a few moments here. Bring on Facebook. Scott's not with us tonight. He had a thing. So Zach and I were going to rock it ourselves, and it's all good. Welcome in, everybody. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zach, first order of business. Today was a pretty big news day at Broncos camp, day 3 of Broncos camp. But let's start with the main headliner here, and that is the first domino dropping on the Broncos extensions. Courtland Sutton, 4 years, $93 million. Your gut reaction?
We've had a lot of worry warts in the comment section, the chats, the last couple months chat about if the Broncos are going to sign Sutton, and now those worry warts don't have to worry so much. The Broncos smartly, I thought, Chad, got ahead of the market like George Paton prefers to do, because that Terry McLaurin contract in Washington, that situation is still playing out. McLaurin's going to break the bank. That would have set the baseline for Courtland Sutton, but you're getting ahead of the deal. You're saving yourself some money. You're rewarding a homegrown player who is ascending with your franchise quarterback. I think it's smart, Chad, but now they have to turn to the defensive side of the ball and get either Zach Allen or Benito or JFM locked down.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the next domino is, but I got to be honest, dude, I didn't think he'd be the first one. So what do you think the implications are that Courtland came first?
Like we talked about, I don't think Sean Payton's in the business, Chad, of subtracting from Bo Nix's weapon chest. I think he wants to add to it. He wants to complement it. We saw that all offseason with the addition of R.J. Harvey, J.K. Dobbins, Evan Ingram, Pat Bryant, and so on and so forth. It's smart. You saw the chemistry. Courtland Sutton produced, Chad, no matter who's the quarterback. He had a Pro Bowl season in 2019. You talk about it all the time with Drew Lock, Brandon Allen, and the likes of which
Mile High Joe.
We quickly forgotten about, Joe Flacco included. And say what you want about Courtland Sutton, wide receiver 1 status. He is the wide receiver 1 in Denver, and he played very nicely with the franchise quarterback.
I'm stoked for him. I like that it keeps him in Denver through and beyond the Bo Nix rookie contract, because he's got this year, then an additional 4, whereas Bo has this year, then an additional 3. In terms of team control, I guess they could always, that would include the 5th year. But I'm stoked to see Courtland get paid. I think he deserves it, and hopefully it provides a nice little shot in the arm for the locker room and everybody, including the other guys waiting to get extended, like Allen, Benito. We'll see what happens with JFM. We talked about that yesterday, Zach, that he was voicing his, the whole kind of squeaky wheel gets the grease thing. I'm underappreciated. I'm underpaid on X. I don't know. Maybe they'll extend him as well at some point this season.
It sends a good message, at least with Courtland Sutton. That's what we've been talking about, too. He's a good soldier. He showed good faith last year. He had that hold in, but he did show up for mandatory practices. He showed up for the regular season. He balled out, had a 1,000-yard season. This offseason, he was at every voluntary practice, at every mandatory practice, and they were negotiating in good faith. So, again, it sends a good message to the locker room that if you perform and outkick your expectations, we're going to take care of you.
Indeed. We got the Papa Bear, a Mount Rushmore Super Chat superstar, checking in with a very generous Super Chat. Thank you, pal. Also, as you can see by that rad little circle thingamajigger on his handle there, a member. In case you missed it, guys, we just launched our membership offering at MHH YouTube, so check that out when you get some time. But thank you, Papa Bear. He says, outstanding for Courtland Sutton. Good evening, Broncos country. 13-4 plus. Love it. Thank you so much, brother. It's excellent to see you, and we always appreciate your support. David Youngkin in the house early as well, just saying hi there. Yeah, he'll be around. String guy, 4 years. It's a good deal. Let me see here. Some other hellos. Michael Davis in the house. What's up, buddy? How is you? Doing good, hopefully. Shouts to everybody. We got Dylan helping us out on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that like button on your way in, guys. Very, very helpful to your boys here. And we got Sam Bam sounding off on Super Chat. Thank you so much, Sam. Very appreciated, my brother. Mount Rushmore superstar saying, "Evening, guys. Just got back from Vegas. That's right. Your trip. How'd it go?" He said, "We're getting closer to football. Glad the Broncos gave Courtland an extension. Him and Bo going to be a solid combo for at least the next 4 years, no doubt. Bonito next. Go Broncos." Yeah, who do you think's next, Zach? Gun to your head, you got to make a prediction, even if it's not a confident prediction. Well, I mean, I didn't see Sutton being the first guy, but now that he is the first guy, I'm going, okay, I guess it makes sense. You know, you're wanting to insulate your quarterback as best you possibly can, make sure he feels comfortable and confident in the future. So now on the other side of it, I understand it, but who do you think could be next?
I realize, I never answered your question a minute ago as to JFM. I don't think he's going to be the next one up, Chad. I think you have to take care of the other starter on the defensive line first. It's subjective. I think Zach Allen should be rewarded. You mentioned taking care of the pass catcher for the quarterback. Now you have to take care of someone who gets after the quarterback. Bonito does that, but Zach Allen does so much of the dirty work up front to make that possible. He also has proven himself 2 years in a row, and we've talked about maybe the Broncos, Chad, have apprehensions about Bonito being a one-year wonder. So I think we both are in agreement here. Zach Allen should be the next one up.
He's the most solid bet, in my opinion. And again, it won't shock me, Zach, if Bonito is the next guy and they give him a ridiculous contract. And I just think from a pragmatic perspective, like even in Sutton's case, yeah, you want to make Bo feel good and all that and comfortable and confident with his supporting cast and that his number one target's in for the long haul. But he's got a resume many years long, right? Like he's a very consistent. He's obviously played a quarterback-dependent position, and so his stats haven't been on the same level as some of his peers, on the level that they frankly should be based on the caliber of player that he is. But Courtland Sutton, dude, I'm really excited for him getting locked in, and we'll see, dude. I don't know who's next, but if I'm the Broncos, I'm being pragmatic, and I'm just waiting a little bit into the season before I lock Bonito down. But based on the breadcrumbs, Zach, you had the report for us a couple days ago, right when camp was opening up. Bonito's talking to him already. It's probably going to happen before the season. It would be my bet, even though I would wait a little longer.
Sean Payton confirmed as much before the Courtland Sutton deal. I think it was last week during the acclimation period. He said we're negotiating with all of them. I assume all four, including JFM. And today he said before the Sutton contract was announced that they're real close to a deal. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Bonito either, but also have to keep in mind with Zach Allen, if you extend him, Chad, you're opening up more cap space now, and in the future, that might be where George Payton prioritizes.
By the way, since you've been gone, Sam, a lot of different perks and bennies, additional content we're providing to members moving forward, starting later this week. The membership offering is open. You can sign up. There's 2 levels, a $3 level and a $10 level. But we're rolling back out Broncos Book Club. And for those of you who are OG Facebook subscribers, where we did it only for Facebook subscribers before Facebook started screwing publishers, and we decided, we're going away from you, Facebook, and we're going to go to YouTube. We read the book. Each person, we have the assignment. It's a book club, right? You pick the chapter, you set a date to meet. Everyone reads their chapter. You meet for the date, and you talk about whatever your gleanings and observations are. We're starting with the new Kliss book, the Elway Years. If you're interested, you can sign up at the lowest level, whatever. We'll see. It's going to be Saturday, Sam, just so you know. Okay. Also, Taylor, he's got locked in as a member. Great to see you, buddy.
Taylor.
Thank you. He says, glad Sutton is re-signed. These middle linebacker injuries are killing me. So let's segue here, Zach. Kind of almost by way of by the way, we learned after practice today, day 3, Alex Singleton broke his thumb. Yeah. Broken bone in his thumb. Here's the good news. He'll miss like a week or so of camp, just long enough to let it heal just enough. Then they'll put a club on it, and then he'll probably rock the club for 6 weeks to 8 weeks. By the time you get to the season, he might not even have the club. But not a great harbinger for a guy here, Zach. When we're talking about omens and trying to predict and foresee the future, this guy, of course, super prolific as a producer, right? What is it, 3 straight? Might be 4 straight. Triple-digit tackle seasons, a couple of those, of course, being with the Broncos. And he misses all but the first 3 games of last season with an ACL, even Sean Payton today kind of intimates, man, if our number 1 and number 2 inside linebackers are healthy, we're going to be formidable at the second level. And then he gets this. It's not great. I feel you, Taylor. It's kind of like, really, on the first padded practice, broken thumb, but it could be worse, or that's the silver lining approach I'm taking.
It's a shame. Yeah, Sean Payton just talked about how well Singleton is complimenting Dre Greenlaw at inside linebacker. Then come to find out, I saw reports that Singleton broke the tip of his thumb, which sounds painful enough, but he's only expected to miss, as Chad said, about a week. He should be back for the joint practices against the 49ers heading into that preseason game with the club, like Chad said. But it's kind of the acclimation of the injuries now at inside linebacker. Remember, Dre Greenlaw's coming off an Achilles, coming off a quadriceps. Drew Sanders is out north of 4 to 6 weeks, according to Sean Payton. And now Singleton coming back from an ACL and a thumb. I think the Broncos have to, for the next week, lean on some of the depth that Sean Payton talked about, including Lavelle Bailey, who's had a really good training camp so far, Chad.
Phil, what's up, brother? Great to see you. Thank you for being there on Facebook, throwing down some support. He says, good evening, Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott. Scott's not with us tonight, but I'm sure he'll hear this. He says, kind of surprised it was Sutton first. Thought it would be Allen. Buckham, MHH for life, Broncos for life. I agree, dude. You and I on that front, Phil, are sharing a brain. I fully, Zach, expected it to be Zach Allen first, but it was Sutton. And I don't know if it's just because the framework, I think there are deeper implications, as I mentioned earlier, about just making sure the nest around Bo Nix is properly fluffed and built. But it could have simply be like more basic explanation. Like the first contract that was laid before Sutton's camp was maybe already basically where the Sutton camp wanted it to be. There was maybe only a few little tweaks or whatever. It was just an easier to get done deal, so to speak. I don't know, but I'm just glad it got done.
Also, keep in mind that no two negotiations are the same. Sutton's new contract pays him is $23 annually. That makes him the 18th or 19th highest paid receiver in the NFL. It's a raise for Sutton, but it's not breaking the bank at wide receiver. But Zach Allen was asking, Chad, reportedly north of $25 million per year, and that would put him in the upper echelon of defensive linemen. So I'm kind of surprised and kind of not as well. Maybe Zach Allen behind the scenes is asking for more. Maybe that negotiation is more contentious. I'm just glad, Phil, the Broncos got their offensive weapon locked up for the long term.
It could be that it is. You're right, man. Not all these negotiations are created equal, so to speak. Joey,
thank you,
jumping
Joey.
in as a member on YouTube. Joey
Thank you,
Didley,
Joey.
welcome, my friend. We're going to be rolling out that content this week. It's going to be awesome. So welcome to the Manger. Really appreciate you. You're going to be getting special shout outs each and every week as a member as well on the live stream. So thank you, pal. Really appreciate you. We got to grab this from the Duchess checking in from the tippity top.
Thank you.
Love you so much, Michaela. Back-to-back nights. We love it having you in the room and being able to pick your brain on these subjects and just the contributions you make each and every night to the conversation. Help us keep the lights on as well is obviously great. Thank you so much. We love you. You know this. She says, so happy for Sutton and a great contract for both sides. Great for Bo too. Yeah, I think it's really good for Bo, man. Like, hey, it's a sign that the team is all in on Bo, and not only all in on Bo, but like, hey, fully cognizant of we only have a few more years of this franchise quarterback guy on a rookie contract. Well, let's make hay because the sun's a shining.
You know, and thank you so much, Michaela, as always, for blessing us with your presence and generosity. I'm really happy for Courtland Sutton, too, as a person, because, Chad, he hasn't turned into that malcontent, that diva at wide receiver. And the Broncos haven't been so fortunate with that. Even going back to Emmanuel Sanders, then you had Jerry Jeudy. You've had these complicated wide receivers, and Courtland Sutton had every reason to be a diva with no quarterback play, horrible coaching, and his talent and his prime being wasted. But he's been a good locker room leader. He's been a good teammate, good with the fan base. He was even working the jugs machine today and helping out the equipment staff. He's just a good guy to have around the locker room, and I'm happy the Broncos took care of him, Michaela.
Absolutely. Michaela, so good to see you again, my friend. Thank you so much. I'm going to grab this real quick from Ralph jumping in, saying on Facebook, good afternoon, gentlemen. Nick Bonito will get signed next, and Allen in the middle of the season, according to Mike Kliss. Gene William won't be here tonight. Just bought his first house at 23. I'm a proud daddy. Dat gum, dude. He must be doing quite well. 23. You raised him right, Ralph. Good for you, big dog. And congrats to Gene. Give him our best. That's really cool.
Yeah, in this economy, that's quite the feat. So that's awesome, Ralph.
Totally.
Thanks for sharing.
Rocking and rolling. That's very, very cool. Savage Boy Kev, good to see you. We try to get one Twitch on each and every podcast. We don't always pull it off, but when we can, we do. And Savage Boy says, did you guys see what Nick Wright said about the 3 AFC West teams making the playoffs, but Denver almost threw up? So in other words, Denver's the only AFC West team that doesn't make it, I guess. I didn't see it. And no offense, Savage Boy Kev, but I don't care. And honestly, maybe, Zach, if this was 3 weeks ago, we'd have found it and written it up. It's just something to fill space for the offseason, even though it is Nick Wright. But we know he's drinking that haterade. Kev, we know this.
This guy's an admitted Chiefs fan, an unabashed Chiefs fan at that. He's just trolling you, Kev. Don't throw up. It's what he wants. Don't give in to his ridiculously moronic takes. That's what he exists to do. We all know he doesn't know ball. Just look at the guy. How can you take him seriously? He's about to know what's what. The Broncos will prove him wrong. And as we say almost every night, let him hate.
Let him hate indeed. Naj in the hizzy. What's up, bro? Great to see you. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, brothers, Peyton over his career got a lot of receivers and tight ends paid. Sutton earned this, but I think this goes down as the first player benefiting from Nix's play last year. Gear up, bros. We're going to the Super Bowl. I love it. Yeah, let's take a trip into an alternate universe, an alternate football universe like that show Fringe. You guys remember that show? It doesn't matter. But let's pretend Bo Nix isn't the quarterback. The Broncos wanted him, but he goes ahead of whatever. He doesn't land in Denver. Does Courtland Sutton still get extended right now, you think, Zach? Or do you think they go, you know what, we're going to go ahead and let him hit the market after 2024 or 2025 and, rebuild the room with the young guys and kind of cross the bridges as we get to him?
If Bo Nix didn't arrive last year, I don't think Courtland Sutton has the season that he had. Over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, Chad led the Broncos in receptions. I think he's just still the same middling receiver he was, and subsequently, I don't think he would get the contract extension.
Middling in terms of the production, all right? And that's along with, obviously, the accolades. That's what gets you paid in this business as a player. And so, yeah, I think you're onto something there, Naj. Nick's had a little something to do with the Broncos making sure Sutton is coming back beyond 2025 and the first of the extensions to get done. So excellent point, my friend. Thank you so much. Let me grab a couple of member comments like from Chase. Thing is, if you franchise tag Bonito, you might as well just pay him a contract instead. That'll be a very pricey tag because guys like Myles Garrett or TJ Watt are getting $40 million. Yeah, it's becoming very, punitive almost. Like it doesn't make sense anymore for a lot of these positions, Zach, to do the franchise route. No, I think he gets paid. I mean, Kliss would know, right? Kliss is the guy who has the kind of the most direct line to the front office. And if he's saying Bonito next, Allen is the actually third guy, probably the way the cookie's going to crumble, even though, as I've said already a couple times tonight, I would wait on Bonito.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I think there is some trepidation, apprehension. You don't have that with Sutton. You don't have that with Zach Allen necessarily. And Chase, to your point, wait till Trey Hendrickson out there in Cincinnati. He will get a multi-year deal, and that's going to be a whopper too. So like I always say, if you have any inclination toward paying one of your own players, get it done sooner and not later. Waiting is going to cost you some serious money.
No doubt. Yeah, dude. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you being a member, Chase. Okay, Zach, I want to get to some other aspects of today's busy day 3 of Broncos camp, but let me pull up the site real quick. So a few items I want to pick your brain on. First things first, though, on the injury front, we already talked about Singleton. What we learned from Sean Payton on the Drew Sanders front is actually much more encouraging than the initial semi-incorrect report from Ian Rappaport. So let me read what Sean Payton said today. In fact, he didn't wait for a question. He announced this as he took the podium. He said, quote, "The news for us was good news in that it's a ligament in his foot and it's not a tendon." Rappaport said it was a tendon. Okay. What does that mean? Payton continues. It's going to certainly be north of 4 to 6 weeks till he gets back. But the tendon was what we were concerned about. I'm not going to try to spell it out, but the ligament repair is much easier than that of a tendon. So we were all pretty happy with that. And then he goes on to say, I'll update you when we get a timeline. There have been some cases where there's surgery, some where there's not. I think he's doing the right thing now in kind of exploring those options. And then Zach, he was asked, Payton was a little bit later, hey man, linebacker depth. And I'm sure this was also with seeing Singleton walk off the field with trainers. They were looking at his hand today. And he was asked about how does these injuries affect the depth at inside linebacker? And he said, quote, "It just changes the short term. I'm saying 4 to 6, 7, 8 weeks. We'll look at that position closely and understand the reps and how we have to approach it," close quote. So, Zach, it sounds like there is a chance, albeit probably pretty slim, looking at the date, right, that he could be back in time for the season. It's looking like Drew Sanders is, in fact, that's the true part of what Rappaport reported yesterday. Probably going to have to start on the injured reserve. Maybe not. I mean, if he's going to be ready 1 or 2 weeks in, maybe they'll just roster him and whatever. But, yeah, your thoughts on Drew Sanders?
I think, first of all, fortunately, like we talked about when we discussed his injury, he's not a starter. They have their starters, even though Singleton's a little banged up right now. So it's not a DEFCON 1 situation. If it drags out into the regular season, which it's looking like it will, you mentioned IR, he'd have to sit out the first 4 games. I think when he would come back would be dependent on how the team is standing, how the defense looks, how the inside linebackers are playing. There's no reason to rush him back, especially when he has to plan and run and try to use explosive traits off of that foot. That's a tough injury, the connective tissue for an inside linebacker, someone who moves in space and laterally and in different angles. So they'll give him this time, all the time he needs. Again, fortunately, they don't have to rely on him for starters reps.
Very true. Sorry, guys, if I'm coughing and sniffing and stuff. My allergies are killing me today. I'm trying to mind the mute button, though. Patrick, what's going on, brother? Aloha, right back at you. Scott's not in the house tonight, but he'll be back soon. So great to see you. Hope you're doing well, my brother. Okay, Zach, as far as other topics, I loved what Sean Payton said about Dre Greenlaw today, just like I loved what he said about him. I think it was on Saturday when he said that he's a guy that when the pads go on, you know, he expresses himself, so to speak. And boy, oh boy, was that not the case right out of the gates today when the pads went on. Even in the warm-ups and the walkthroughs, like popping Michael Burton, like, you know, he goes hard, this man. And so after practice, we got to hear from Greenlaw, which was cool. We can talk about some of the things he had to say, but I wanted to get your take here, Zach, on what Payton said about him. Quote, "He plays like Mike Tyson. He's tough. He's physical. He's built that way. There's not a lot of leaky yardage. He's a knockback tackler. They stop where he hits them. There's an intensity to how he plays. He's one of those players where if you put the film on and didn't say anything, at some point early on, you would ask, who is this guy?" Close quote. And then, of course, at the podium after Payton, he was asked about Payton's comment comparing him to Mike Tyson. And Greenlaw says, yeah, I've heard that before.
Well, let's hope he's not going around biting opposing players' ears off, Chad. Other than that, I love the mentality that he brings to the position. We really haven't seen this in the Denver front seven since, I don't know, Derek Wolfe or Von Miller. They haven't had that killer mentality. Iron Mike Tyson, that's who you're going to have at inside linebacker after years of floundering there, Chad, you know, rolling through undrafted free agents and late round draft picks. Of all of the additions the Broncos made this offseason, I love RJ Harvey. I love Evan Ingram. I love Hufanga. I am so stoked on Dre Greenlaw, the answer to all our prayers for almost a decade now.
No doubt. It's also really encouraging to see Talanoa Hufanga just flying around, 100% healthy. And boy, oh boy, man, like if the Broncos were right about these free agents, not that they're good players, we know that, but if they were right in their assessment that they could keep them healthy, and this includes Evan Ingram, who we'll talk about here in a minute, man, they are upgrades. Even Garrett Bowles today, Zach, I don't think he's always as self-aware of some of the things he says, but because I bet you Cody Barton, who they share an alma mater with, would probably take exception to Bowles saying today that Greenlaw is an upgrade linebacker. And I was like, whew, yeah, probably a better way to say that and maintain your friendships. But that's a small thing. Gotta love it. And another thing, while I bring up Garrett Bowles, we heard from Quinn Miners last week that there's some kind of newer tweaks to the Broncos ground attack. And obviously we've been, Zach, expecting the biggest palpable change being the influx of talent at running back, namely RJ Harvey. We'll talk about him, J.K. Dobbins. But Bull said today that the outside zone, which Sean Payton is not a proponent of. That's one of the big differences between, say, a Mike Shanahan West Coast and a Sean Payton West Coast, is the zone blocking in the outside zone and the stretch runs and all that. But that it's a point of emphasis for this training camp, and in the team periods today, you could see it. And that's one of the awesome things we could recognize about RJ Harvey is how quickly he's getting to the edge, finding those holes, turning upfield. But what do you make of that? Why do you think all of a sudden Sean Payton is introducing not to say they never ran inside or outside zone, but he's a traditionally power gap. That's his blocking and his run scheme. Now they're throwing in some zone. What do you think?
I think the combination of having someone in the backfield with the explosiveness to get to the outside and RJ Harvey helps. I think another year of Zach Strief coaching prowess and another year of the system allows the Broncos a little more flexibility to incorporate more zone concepts, Chad. And Sean Payton said himself, I thought it was interesting a few days ago, that every year we look at how the offense can evolve and change. And he said, we've looked closely at the running game and we've made tweaks to it. You don't hear Sean Payton be that forthright and make so many admissions about his scheme, but he did say that about the running game. You're going to see some new wrinkles. And I think a lot of that stems from RJ Harvey, just the explosiveness and the quick twitch abilities he has. Like you said, we saw it in training camp today. He got to the outside in a blink of an eye.
Not only that, but if you have a good O-line coach, which the Broncos do, and a good play caller and a designer and game planner, which they do in Sean Payton, that zone thing can be devastating. It can be devastating. It's looking like, Zach, they made the right changes and additions to have the running back talent to be effective in operating the outside zone, but it's a big change going from, not to say that that's going to be their primary thing moving forward. It will be interesting to see how much the outside zone gets peppered in and all that stuff. However, it's a lot of moving pieces to all of a sudden integrate that effectively. So we're learning, obviously, that process started in the offseason. By this point, the offensive linemen are, I'm sure, quite well adapted to it already.
And that's the thing, though. The running backs aren't. So they had a chance, and Harvey and Dobbins, they came in fresh to Sean Payton's system, and they had an opportunity to teach them both instead of having to unlearn just a man scheme or put more on their plate. From the opening day of the time they joined the Broncos, they've been learning outside zone. And again, Chad, when you have Javonte Williams and Estime and Blake Watson, for example, you really can't do those things. You're not afforded those opportunities. When you upgrade the talent in the backfield, what a concept. Now you can.
Shifting gears for a second here, back to the linebacker situation. Roddy wants to know, should the Broncos add veteran linebacker Eric Kendricks? He's still out there, Zach. He's available. With this now being two linebackers down, one being a starter, one being a backup guy, knowing that Singleton's a short-term thing, but now he's going to be slightly compromised. Like how we don't know exactly how long he'll have to wear the club. And I'm telling you, as a tackler, anyone who played tackle football, if one hand can grip and the other one's clubbed, that's better than nothing. But man, a lot of your tackling, it's not just wrapping up and squeezing with your arms, man. Like you're using your hand and your grip to latch on as much as you are using your arms to kind of squeeze it together and bring a guy down. So I've got to tell you, Rodney, should they? Yes. I do think that they should probably bring in a little insurance at this point. Will they? That's a different story. Zach, they brought in also this offseason 3 college free agent inside linebackers. So plus they re-signed Justin Sternad and they have Lavelle Bailey returning. But who bumps up to the first team reps? Probably going to be Sternad for now while Singleton waits to get the club on. But what's your thoughts for Rodney?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm there yet. Maybe if Singleton's injury was more significant or Sanders' injury was season ending, and don't get me wrong, I'm really glad they're not. Then I would scramble to the free agent market and add some depth. But those guys are both going to be back by the start of the regular season, Chad, or a little after in Sanders' case. And they can get by, and Sanders is a backup, so they can get by with letting Singleton come back in a week or so from the broken thumb. Dre Greenlaw is running with the first team. He has no ill effects from the quad or Achilles, and give Lavelle Bailey a chance to shine. He showed in the preseason last year that he has some there. Now he has his chance to show more there.
And he's looking good. I mean, so far so good for Lavelle Bailey. But he is untested as far as the NFL is concerned. And I would want, just with how good this defense is all around, man, I would just want a little bit of insurance. And Kendricks, look, you could he's the best of the rest right now, in my opinion. And you could bring him in on the relative cheap. You know, you don't have to break the bank to bring him in. He's at a point now, Zach, where he's kind of 1-year mercenary kind of veteran. Yeah. He'll go where that money's at about this time every year. Training camp, dust starts settling a little bit. Guys get hurt. Teams recognize where their roster weaknesses are. He'll get plucked up here pretty fast. I would just pull the trigger. Ronk, brother, good to see you tonight. Saying good evening, Chad and Zach on the MHH podcast. His reaction to Sutton. Awesome news on the signing of Courtland Sutton to a 4-year deal. He will finish his NFL career with the Broncos. Yeah, so 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So if he plays out the entirety of his contract, which, guys, let's admit it, as excited as we all are, it's no guarantee. It's basically like all these contracts. The first 2 years are where the money's at, and then after that, we'll kind of take it as we go. But that would be his 12th year. So unless he wants to be one of these, and I doubt he is, but unless he wants to be one of these guys pushing well into the teens in terms of his NFL resume, the number of years he's been in the league, you could be right, Ronk. This could be him fully putting a punctuation to Bronco for life.
And I think that's his hope as well. That's his intention. It's what I was saying earlier. He's become so ingrained in the community in Denver with the Broncos, with the fan base, with his teammates. He's been with the team through the worst, Chad, and now he's going through some of the better times in recent memory. And I'm glad he got rewarded. And I do think, Ronk, you're right. He will retire a member of the Denver Broncos.
Tyrone is asking about Josie Jewell, and that was my first thought after Drew Sanders got hurt. But I didn't realize that he has still been in the concussion protocol.
Yep.
So he's been in the concussion protocol since before the season ended. And that's one of the reasons. It was almost like from what I've heard, Zach, and been told, you had the article for us, but it's almost like a mutual, he can't play football. They're paying him.
Exactly.
And he's like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and kind of bow out of this. Go ahead and release me. Might come back to the Panthers. But unfortunately, he is not 100% yet. So if he was just straight up healthy and they cut him, it would obviously be a no-brainer. No-brainer to bring Josie Jewell back as insurance. I mean, that experienced of a guy, former 4th-round pick of the team. But I'll be surprised, honestly, now. I mean, how long do players stay in a concussion protocol for north of 6 months? I'll be surprised if he ever suits it up again. You know, I don't think he's going to strap on a helmet again. And he shouldn't. He's made some decent money, maybe not Zach fully life-changing money, but he'll probably not want for anything. It's not one of these earnings where he's made multi-generational earnings. Like this deal with Sutton, if he plays it out, multi-generational, like his kids and maybe even his kids' kids are set. But thoughts and prayers for Josie.
Yeah, that's exactly how I understand it as well. He's still in the concussion protocol. I think he suffered that brain injury in week 16, week 17, somewhere along those lines. And you're right, it's not normal for a player to be in the protocol that long, and it's a very scary situation for Jewel. He understood that. He understood the Panthers want to give reps to their younger players on their team, and it was a mutual release. And he's not healthy enough to play right now. And when he is, like Chad said, he might go back to Carolina. So that's the skinny on Jewel.
We'll see. Okay, back to some events from today that I also want to get into. Evan Ingram, Zach. I wrote about this a couple days ago, just based on the first couple practices. But today is, with the pads going on and everything, and the intensity and the physicality rising, it was made absolutely manifest, perfectly clear. Evan Ingram is not only going to feature, that we knew, right, in Peyton's offense. Yeah, he's going to feature, but he's going to be a focal point. Bo Nix going to him early and often, a lot of like catches in traffic over the middle today. A couple of which actually, if that's a game, he's getting blown up, because there's a couple there where his teammates pull off. They're not going to hit him, but in a game he would have got clocked. But nevertheless, Ingram, Zach, we could be sleeping on, if he stays healthy, the everlasting caveat. If he stays healthy, dude, in this offense with this quarterback, a renaissance. We could be seeing a career renaissance once again for Evan Ingram.
Guy had over 100 receptions a couple years ago, as recently as 2 years ago. He's a damn good tight end. The Broncos were very fortunate to get him. And all the reports I've read, people on the ground out there at Broncos Park and the training camp notebooks and takeaways, is that Bo Nix consistently looks in Ingram's direction. It's that Ingram has been the safety blanket we all thought he would be for Bo Nix. And my first thought is I'm very happy Bo Nix finally has that. My second thought is that sucks that he went with his whole rookie season without having that, Chad. Throwing to Adam Troutman and Lucas Kroll and Nate Atkins. No running game, no legitimate tight end. He still had a 10-win season playoff record. He set records league-wide, franchise-wide. So now that he has that on top of a running game, on top of the other receiving weapons, the arrow is, again, skyrocketing upward for number 10.
No doubt about it. All right, a couple other things here. First of all, Mike McGlinchey back at it today, Zach. And I don't recall in the presser from Peyton today that he addressed what's been going on, but he did with McGlinchey, but he did talk about Palczewski, et cetera, the value of having a reliable swing tackle. What have you heard on the McGlinchey front?
McGlinchey was back at practice today. I don't know exactly why he was absent the last couple of days, but he was. Sean Payton did talk about it's going to be more of a rotating schedule for the vets as they acclimate into the summer and not to burn them out. I don't know. He looked no worse for wear on the practice field today. He's sporting a new haircut, got his head shaved a little closer, but the starting right tackle for the Broncos was back in action today.
Thank goodness. Something's going on, though. I don't think it's rest. I don't think it's load management, to quote Sean Payton, because he's been out on the grass. He'll observe, right? He's dressed. He'll observe, but he's had a right pressure sleeve on, or a pressure sleeve. I think it's his right leg that kind of goes from like a couple inches above the knee all the way down to his ankle. So it's almost like something's going on with the knee, and he's had a knee before, right? Like so it's something to monitor, but very encouraging that he was back out there today.
I'm trying to think. Was it a knee that knocked him out with the Broncos early on?
I think it was a sprain, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So it could be soreness, maybe. It's going unreported. Whatever it is, Chad, it's minor in nature, which is good news.
Let's see here. Michael Davis says, give the running backs choice and gaps. The zone blocking scheme is the bee's knees. Yeah, so what he's talking about is, and you're 100% right, and that's why vision, you can't even think about operating as an outside zone if you don't have running backs that are either experienced in it or whose vision you trust. Like Javonte Williams, you could never run outside zone with him. You could probably run some inside zone, and they did here and there, but not outside zone because, yeah, there's an expectation when the ball is snapped of where they hope the gap opens up, but the running back's job is to be patient and follow along and be ready as soon as they see that gap open up. And they're not always sure where it's going to open, right? But to recognize it, have the vision to see it, the explosion to get downhill, and just blow through it, right? That's why in Shanahan's offense for all those years, it was one no-name 1,000-yarder after another. I mean, even Terrell Davis, guys, was a no-name dude. Yeah, I played in the SEC, played at Georgia, but this was a 6th-round pick. Nobody, including the Broncos, was expecting him to become an NFL MVP and a 2,000-yard rusher. But he was just the first guy, right? Olandis Gary, Clinton Portis was a 2nd-round pick, but even before him, Mike Anderson, late-round pick. The list goes on. Reuben Drones. We could go on and on with the number of dudes. Tatum Bell, the rush for 1,000 yards. But what all those guys in Shanahan's scheme, what all those guys had in common, though, Zach, aside from the scheme, was the vision. And so far, it's sounding like RJ's got that, and that's exciting.
Yeah, you can give him the choices, Michael, the running lanes, but it doesn't matter if you're running into the backs of the offensive linemen, as I saw much too often in 2024, namely Javonte Williams. Again, I think the only reason he's even entertaining going to the zone scheme or going to the outside scheme is because he has the horses, literally and figuratively, to do so now. It's not these cement shoed running backs. You have explosiveness, you have wiggle, you have the ability to make something happen with Dobbins and RJ Harvey.
All right, so Naj wants to know how much we think Bonitto's going to get. So this is an interesting question, Zach, because Spot Rack has his market value around $24 million. He's probably going to get more than that, in my opinion, Zach. Like, I could see him getting north of that. Not by a lot, but by a little. What do you think is in store for Nick Bonitto on an APY basis?
I was just Googling the extension. So TJ Watt got $41 million a year. So he's not going to eclipse that. We can all safely assume that. I think 25 would be a fair number. I don't know that I don't have the contracts pulled up in front of me, but it's going to be commensurate with what other edge rushers around the NFL are making, maybe the average of the top 5. So 25 million, something in that territory. It's not going to be cheap, that we know.
Mike says, glad I caught the start of the pick of destiny. Anytime I see POD in all caps or acronymed, I think of Tenacious D and the pick of destiny. But killer cult classic movie. If you're a Tenacious D music fan, I'm sure you're aware of the movie. It's real goofy, but I love it. But yeah, dude, it's great to see you, Mike. I'm sorry we didn't get to your questions. I was going to grab one here in a second, but then I saw it sounds like you're out of here. So we'll get you on the next one, dude. Trust. And we will see you here soon. Where are we at? 43 minutes. We're doing pretty solid time-wise. But guys, consider this your 2-minute warning, so to speak. Any burning questions, topics, supers, get them in the chat. William says, hey, bros. Hello, Broncos country. Saying hi from Bangkok today. Let's go, Broncos. See, proving it. Broncos country is not a geographic location, baby. It's a state of being. He says, by the way, 26, 28 million, probably more realistic. Be hard to replace Nick Bonitto. Well, maybe the guy that we saw last year certainly would be hard. Not just the speed rush aspect and kind of a lot of cleanup sacks. You got to remember in Bonitto's case, a lot of not a guy like we would see from Von Miller, just straight up beating his dude, turning the corner or spinning inside or bull rushing him on his rear end. A lot of Nick Bonitto sacks. You guys got to keep this in mind. Were cleanup sacks where someone flushed him and Nick's there, or the coverage is tight, quarterback holds onto the ball, Nick gets there. That's not to say, Zach, he didn't have his one-on-one triumphs. He did. So, but you're paying for that, and you're paying for that rare blood in the water instinct that he showed last year with a full season basically as a starter. You saw down the stretch when the chips were down, elevated game situations, takeaways to the house. That's what you're paying for. But can you count on that being any kind of status quo? That's where I have my doubts. I'm not sure, baby. I'm not sure. That's why I want to wait just 3-4 weeks into the season. But Kliss is saying he's next, Zach.
Well, to the point about not being able to replace him, I don't know that it's that difficult. We're not talking about Lawrence Taylor coming off the edge. Benito is a good player. He's a really good edge rusher, but he's still a little one-dimensional. Naj mentioned that he's weak against the run. We've seen those deficiencies. And he had, 13 and a half sacks last year? Amazing season. Jonah Ellis and Dondre Tillman combined for 10 sacks, though. You add Q Robinson into the fold. Between those three, there's your one Nick Benito. So 28, you might be right. William might be higher than 25. Although, don't forget, George Payton, Sean Payton have their number, and they won't go a penny above that.
I just don't think you need to pay him that much, man. I'm sorry. And I like Benito. I'm here for him. Like, you've got some badass edge rushers. Jonathan Cooper will hold it down. He's if not Zach, a double-digit guy probably moving forward now that he's kind of fully come into his own, but at least a guy that threatens and puts you around there every year, which, by the way, Bradley Chubb gets touted as this like perennial Pro Bowl kind of guy. He only hit double-digit sacks in Denver his rookie year. And then the closest he ever got beyond that was like 7 or 8 sacks. And I see Jonathan Cooper being a guy like that, where 7-8 sacks per year is his floor moving forward. Jonah Ellis is just getting started, as you illustrated perfectly, Zach. Dondre Tillman. And now, by the way, Jonathan Cooper was gushing about Q Robinson. I wasn't thinking too much that Q was going to be that much of a factor this year, but I think he will. On defense, I'm saying. I think he will. So it's a real pickle, and I don't want you guys to misinterpret me as if I'm being negative Nancy or I don't like Benito. I do. But he is a very unique player in that late bloomer, puts together a 1-year just insane all-pro run type thing, conveniently going into a contract year, puts the team in a bind. And it's not just that it was a breakout year 3. If you drill deeper into how the production came, the deeper you drill, Zach, the less impressive it becomes. No offense to Nick Benito in terms of the cleanup sacks and his pass rush win rate and all that stuff. It kind of just muddies the water a little bit, which is why, again, I'm going, wait till week 4. And if you're seeing it, freaking pay the dude. But if not, hold off on it. Doesn't mean you still don't bring him back or re-sign him, but it affects how much you're going to pay him. Certainly.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Bradley Chubb, because maybe the Broncos, different era, different regime. There's some PTSD that might linger in the building there, Chad. And Bradley Chubb was much better against the run than Nick Benito ever was. You can argue Benito's a better pass rusher, but what has Bradley Chubb done in the NFL? Hasn't warranted these big contracts. Again, he deserves a deal. We all want him to stay in Denver, but if it comes down to Zach Allen versus Benito right now, you have to pay someone today. I'm paying the more accomplished guy who's proven it 2 seasons as opposed to 1.
No doubt. I think for the most part, Zach, we got all the developments from today. I'm just doing one more glance over here on my notebook. Article and Harvey, we touched on the outside zone, Sutton. We got it. So, guys, any burning questions, get them in now. We got a few messages for you. Don't leave quite yet. Hang tight.
Tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on X at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle. Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out MHHmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, drop us a like at Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at Mile_High_Huddle. If you want some, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, very, very important, as always, that you subscribe, you like, you share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans, just like you, baby.
Also, guys, really want to encourage you all to become members of MHH on YouTube. There's a $3 option. There's a $10 option, depending if you want to be Mount Rushmore. And what does it get you? As you saw tonight, it's also going to include priority on your comments and questions during the just normal live streams that we do every night at 6 p.m. that goes out to everybody. But not only that, you're going to get direct access to Zach and myself with the live streams for members only, ask us anything type forums where we can all cry together over a loss, or we can, whatever it may be, celebrate the triumph of an awesome, hard-fought victory. Things like Broncos Book Club, there's going to be a number that you can call, and we're going to feature on the shows as well for members that can call in and leave voice memos, leave voice questions. It's going to be fun. Directly reach Zach and I through that line. And just a lot of fun stuff that we're cooking up for members only. And that's honestly, guys, why we waited so long to roll it out, was like we wanted to make sure we had enough bandwidth to be able to offer members something for signing up besides just the old, hey, you're helping us keep the lights on thing, which is still definitely part of it, right? We appreciate you guys, from a super chat to a membership to stars on Facebook. We love you. We do not take that for granted, but we wanted to bring something more to the table. So also, as I mentioned earlier, Broncos Book Club. And if you are participating members, a lot of you have signed up. It's been awesome. Thank you. Make sure you grab this book, because the first episode we'll hang and do a live stream together is going to be on Saturday, on August 2nd. So with that being said, I just passed by it, but Naj said that he doesn't see where to go. He doesn't see the Broncos, Zach, going as high as $25 million for Nick Bonito. Dang it, the stream did a jump on me. But Michaela, you just go to become a member. Just go to the channel on YouTube, click on the main channel icon, and you'll see a little join button, and just follow those steps. That's how you get it done. We love you. Easy to find once you go to the channel. Just look for join. But Zach, Naj has doubts that they'll go that high for Nick.
25 for an edge rusher is not that expensive for a premier starting long-term edge rusher. It's just, is he going to be a long-term guy, or is he a flash in the pan? I'm with Chad. I think they wait until, mid-season, week 6, week 8, and then reevaluate Benito's status.
Yes, Ronk, Nick Bonito was a George Payton draft pick. So was Jonathan Cooper. So was Jonah Ellis, and now Q. And the Dondre Tillman story, by the way, is just phenomenal. I want to say it was Luca Evans from the Denver Post during the offseason, during the lull, like the deepest lull of the NFL summer. He had a great feature on the backstory of Dondre Tillman, and just that guy is a never say die, find a way, make a way guy. And it's really cool, his path to the NFL. And you're seeing that mentality come out in the wash and how he plays and performs on Sunday. So anyway, guys, love you. A mile high salute and a special shout out to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters helping us tonight keep the lights on, and our great members like the Duchess, Michaela Parker, the Papa Bear, David McElrath, Sam Bam, Taylor Christensen. Shouts to the newest member, Joey Dively, while we're live, dude. Welcome to the manger, homie. Phil McLaughlin, also a member on YouTube. George Fox, Naj, legend. Ralph, legend. And the Ronk. If I missed someone on Facebook tonight, guys, forgive me, because we don't have Mr. Producer in the house, and it's not always perfectly evident that a Facebook comment is a star. And I don't, when I'm responsible for also talking on the microphone, I don't like pulling up my phone and going over to see which ones are which. I have to actually pull up Facebook to monitor that. So that's why it's nice, amongst many reasons, having a producer in the green room while you're live, is they can do that kind of stuff, and it's no problem. But anyway, love you guys. Have a great week. Broncos camp marches on. Zach and I will be back Thursday night. It's going to be fun.
Have a great rest of your night. We will see you Thursday. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.